Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. I'm speaking to you from the beautiful and historic coastal town of Hastings on the south coast of England. For those of you who know your English history, you'll know that Hastings is very famous for the 1066 Battle of Hastings, a pivotal moment in the Norman conquest of England. I'm here on holiday with the family, much needed break, a chance to just see new things, breathe some sea air and take in the beautiful, stunning, dramatic sights of Hastings and just spend some relaxation time with the family. But the work always goes on, and just before we left to come here, we received a load of samples from China and Taiwan, and so I'm tasting through lots and lots of samples. And I thought what I would do today is do an evaluation of these three teas. These are all ROU GUI Yancha teas from the same producer, but different grades, grade 1, 2 and 3. I don't know which one's which. Celine has marked on the bottom which is grade 1, 2 or 3, but I thought that I would just taste them, evaluate them, you know, give you my sort of off the cuff thoughts on them, and then we'll see if I guessed correctly in terms of the grade. Although, you know what, I'm not fussed if I pick that I prefer grade 2 or grade 3 compared to grade 1. That doesn't really bother me, but it would be interesting anyway just to see whether or not they are in sync. And because we came here with not much teaware, I brought one guy one and one pot. In order for me to do an evaluation across three of the same type of tea, so 3 ROU GUIs, to evaluate them together, I thought that I would show you how to do that via bowl brewing. Bowl brewing, if you don't know, is one of the most simple ways of brewing. It is the most simple way of brewing. It is literally, as you can see here, leaf, bowl, and then hot water. And there's something beautiful in that simplicity. It's a very simple, almost parameter-less style of brewing that involves very little thought, very little sort of mental considerations as to how you should brew this tea, and what the teaware should be, the volume, the shape, how you should pour. All those things are taken away. It's sort of stripped down to the bare basics. So it's parameterless brewing. It's sort of mindless brewing, but I mean that in a good way. It's sort of freeing of the mind rather than sort of careless. It's mindless brewing, and it's very beautiful. It's a beautiful way to drink tea, and good tea is good tea, and we should be able to spot good tea even though you're brewing in a very, very simple way. Obviously, you can brew, when you're doing evaluations, you can brew in the full Gong Fu style and do the full 10-step tasting to really tease out the intricacies of a tea. But I think it's something really lovely about evaluating a tea in this way. And you may not know this because you see me in videos always talking about tasting notes and always trying to describe teas, obviously, because I'm trying to communicate that with you. But oftentimes, in fact, most of the time, when I am doing sampling of teas, I'm not writing tasting notes. I'm not really thinking too much. I'm just literally drinking tea, and if I find that I really go back to a tea, I'm drawn to a tea, I really like that tea, I don't really ask the question why so much. I just let that instinct guide me as to selecting a tea. Oftentimes I think more about the teas which I don't like or which I decide not to purchase. So if I'm sampling teas and I find a tea which is maybe very interesting, but I decide not to buy it, I'll often ask myself the question, why? Why is it that you chose not to buy that tea? Was it because the finish was empty? Was it because there was something about the taste that you didn't like, or the body sensation didn't quite marry to what you were hoping for? So oftentimes I engage my mind more when I'm thinking about why I decided not to choose a tea. But choosing a tea is actually a very natural, instinctive process, and literally boils down to, did I enjoy that experience enough? And so this form of brewing, this bowl brewing, should still give me that sense. I don't need to do the whole 10-step Gong Fu style brewing in order to decide whether or not I like a tea or not. Obviously, I will still do Gong Fu brewing, and I will still do the 10-step tasting once I've chosen a tea, just to really dive into the detail and figure out all the parameters of how to brew it properly, etc., which I enjoy as well. But paramount is how was the experience? So I'm going to go grab myself some boiling water and we're going to go bulb brew these 3 ROU GUIs. All right, for those of you who don't know, ROU GUI is a yencha, a very famous yencha from ROU GUI in Fujian in China. It's one of the more popular yenchas out there, very, very rich in aromatics. ROU GUI roughly translates to cinnamon or cassia, but as I've said in previous videos, please don't expect that all ROU GUIs will have a cinnamon or cassia taste, because they don't, and in fact some of the best ROU GUIs that I've selected have not had that particular flavor note, so it's a little bit misleading, that name. Right, if I was going to bulb brew properly, and this is not going to be a tutorial on bulb brewing, I can do that if you're interested, but normally I would warm the bowl beforehand just to allow the aromatics to rise, but you know, I'm sitting in an Airbnb here. I managed to get into the garden and I just wanted to set this up quickly. So I've got very boiling hot water here. With bulb brewing you want to pour so that the leaves really start to spin, so it's the flow of the water that moves the leaves around, and the best way to do that is just pour in one spot and let the water do the work sort of around the side. So I'm going to do that now. Lots of gulls around us, give you a flavor of the English seaside. So I'm going to let that steep for a little bit before I move on to that one, because I know that I'm going to spend some time tasting this one. And it's beautiful bulb brewing because of the fact that you can just see these leaves unfurl in a very sort of large container. There's something lovely about just sort of watching the simplicity of the leaves unfurl. And I think that it works very well, aesthetically at least, with strip oolongs and raw pu'ers, sort of strip teas. I just find that that works better. When you have leaves that are too fine, inevitably when you drink, you're going to get leaves, you know, touching your mouth and maybe going into your mouth. So you've got to, well, I personally think that larger leaf teas suit bulb brewing better. If you pick like a very sort of small leaf chimon, I don't think it really suits bulb brewing that well. So I'm going to now pour in this one. So as I said, almost parameter-less brewing. I'm not sort of, I didn't even weigh the leaves. I just sort of visually looked at what I thought was about the same quantity, and I'm not sort of measuring the water. The only thing that I know is that the water is just off the boil, so very, very hot. And we're already getting that ROU GUI aromatics coming through, so I'm just going to have a sniff. Extremely fruity, very, very fruity, like cooked peaches, peach cobbler. And it's also really lovely to watch the water change color, and you can really see the extraction process happening much more in these large bowls, especially, I mean, these are just bowls that were from, these are just cereal bowls from the Airbnb. This is how simple you can do it, and the pale color definitely helps for you to see the leaves unfurling and extracting. Okay. So, 3 bowls of leaves, 3 ROU GUIs from the same producer, 3 different grades. As I said, I'm not too fussed about trying to see if I nail exactly which grade is considered by the producer to be the top grade, because all that matters to me is which one I enjoy the most. Okay, let's start with this one and give it a taste. Obviously it's just opening up, but already rich in aromatics. Oh, very peachy. Reminds me of a Royal Peach Orchid, Milanxiang Dansong. Very much rich in stone fruit. If you've had Cherry Storm, our ROU GUI that we had in stock recently, this is much more in the Dansong territory, much more of a peachy note compared to those sweeter notes of cherry. Minerality is light on it. If I get a leaf, I'll eat it. I'm not so fussed about that. Lovely. Very rounded, it has warmth, it has, as I said, that sort of peach cobbler, so peach and a bit of pastry and a little bit buttery. Airy in the mouth. One thing I'm sort of looking for, and we'll see how it develops as it brews, is a little bit more oomph or pull in the mouth, something that's going to raise some interest. But of course, as we're bold brewing, these are going to be lighter brews compared with the Gongfu brewing, at least at this initial stage. All right, let's see what this one's like. Oh, wow. Huh. Oh, wow, that's delicious. It has all of the peachy Milan notes of this one, but this has a brightness and a clarity and that pudding sensation. So clearly not too early to judge, because this one I'm getting a distinct rocky feel in my throat, sort of slightly pulling, slightly prickly, not in an unpleasant way, but just it has more activity to it from the initial taste. And it also has a taste reminiscent of a bug-bitten oolong. Yeah, it reminds me of a gui fei or a Oriental beauty, in that it's got that something extra, a little honeyed and citrus, like citrus oil spice to it. Loving them both, but this one at the moment is really, really interesting me. Okay, tea number 3. Okay, this one, so the positives first. This one has more of those cherry notes. It's a little bit sweeter in general. Little like cherry cough sweets. It's very, very nice. Very different from these ones. Doesn't have that fruity dansong quality to it. But it's hard to describe, but it has more of a generic Yancha taste. So if you've had sort of affordable, let's say affordable Da Hong Pao blends before, this flavor profile will be very familiar to you. Sort of a little bit of roast, a little bit of cherry note, some sort of yeah, roasted cherries, a little bit of that charcoal, but sort of a general muted, slightly papery taste that it leaves you with, and the aftertaste, or sorry, the finish is pulling and has dryness, but it's hard again to describe what is the right kind and the wrong kind. For me, this is the wrong kind of dryness. This is a sort of all over parched. I just feel like everything is being, all the moisture is being sort of sucked out of all of the different surfaces of my mouth. Whereas in this one, it was very selective. It was just at particular points that sort of raised more of an interest in the mouth, rather than this feeling that everything is dry. So currently that one is my least favorite. It's still a decent tea, but it's definitely my least favorite, and I don't think I would select it for the Mayleaf collection. But let's go through them again. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of a Chilan, that sort of bright, fruity Yancha taste, but And this is again, when I start to sort of engage my mind a little bit in the evaluation process, the reason why I'm not like drawn to it is the finish is a little bit watery. And what I mean by that is that yes, it stimulates saliva, but that saliva doesn't have a particular character. It's not like a sweet juiciness. Yes, there's some dryness, but it's sort of over my whole tongue. It's sort of making my tongue feel, yeah, like not furry because it's too much, but just that dryness across the whole of the tongue. So I like it. On this tasting, I don't think I'd select it for May Leaf. Okay. This is a special Yencha. This one is something that I have, I don't think I've come across in a ROU GUI before. This level of bug-bitten terps, this level of Dansong style fruitiness, this very sort of precise textural shift that's happening in the mouth, this sort of scratch at the back of the throat that just leads to a that sort of subsides as you note this very vaporous, cooling, aromatic air that just flows as you breathe. This has so much going for it. And the peach notes are really to the fore, right at the front of the mouth. I feel like I've just bitten into a peach. It's like all at the front. And then at the back, I'm getting this strong, mineral, rocky crunchiness at the back of my mouth and throat, which may sound unpleasant to you, but I really, really enjoy it. And if you enjoy Yenchas, you probably do too. Leaves taste good as well. So on this tasting, note I didn't even go to that one again, but I will go to it. And this is what I mean when I'm doing evaluations of teas. Oftentimes I'm just interested in the tea which I'm drawn back to instinctively. I don't really want to overthink it. After I've purchased it, then I can try to sort of dive into it. But I like the purchases to be quite instinctive. Amazing. All right, let's see how this one's developed. Very, very good. Standard Yencha taste, cherry notes, a little bit of burnt sugar in there, but there's a dullness to the overall experience, and the finish is very, yeah, it feels like a sort of powder coated my mouth. It's just very, very dry. So if I was forced to guess, I would say that's grade 3, that's grade 2, that's grade 1. But as I said, I don't know what parameters, or sorry, what criteria the producer is using to grade their tea. All I know is I keep going back to this one because that's the one that I love. Right, so I need to, it's going to be impossible for me to turn these over without spilling lots of precious tea. No, I'm not going to gulp them. You're going to have to trust me on this. Right, let's see. Let's start with this one. Oh yeah, yeah. That's 3. That's 3. Okay, so let's see. Yep, that's 2. Just checking, so that is number 1. Again, you're gonna have to trust me, but this was not about whether or not I got this right. But clearly I'm in sync with the producer. This is their grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. I would grade them exactly the same, 1, 2, and 3. And who knows, this ROU GUI may be hitting the shelves of Mayleaf in the near future. So there you go, a very informal video showing you how you can evaluate tea just with bowls and hot water. Very, very simple. But as I said, a great tea is a great tea. Yes, you can bring out the best of it through very considered brewing, and the gong fu process is no doubt one of the best ways to do that, depending on the tea, of course. But just simply putting leaf in bowl with water, you can certainly taste the difference between different grades of tea. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags, keep drinking the good stuff, and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.